What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Finance with Parks. We are coming to you live from a parking lot because during quarantine, I've been holed up in the house and it's so nice to get out and record videos outside. So bear with me as we sit in the back of my car. We're not talking about buying and leasing today. We are talking about how much you should spend on a wedding ring. Now, this is one of the most overwhelming purchases I think I had to make because it's a lot of money to spend for, I just say it, but to spend for jewelry. So in today's video, I'm going to break down kind of the general advice for what you should be spending on a wedding ring, and then at the end, just going to take you through the personal story of finding the ring I bought for Melissa, a shameless plug about some of the photos, and then how much I ended up spending on that. Okay, so advice number one, do not borrow money or finance a wedding ring. I didn't think this was going to be a controversial statement, but the more I hear about things online or just through the grapevine, seems like more and more people are borrowing money to buy rings. I would strongly advise against that. And here's why. When you get married, you're normally at a younger age or earlier on in your career. You know, I'm 26 years old, so when we got engaged last year, I was only 25. I don't have a ton of money saved up to be able to go and spend that on an expensive ring. So not only are you paying interest to buy a ring if you finance it, but you're probably spending more than you can afford in general. Let's just say you go out and buy a $30,000 ring, which I would absolutely have to finance. That is $30,000 that could be doing you so much better, whether that be invested or paying down other debt. I mean, that's an absurd amount to take on when you could be using compounding interest to your advantage. You know, one of the attitudes I've always taken with wedding rings is that in 10 to 20 years, if I can financially afford to upgrade and then go buy that $30,000 ring with all cash and not have it be a financial burden on my life, I would love to do that. But right now, when I'm trying to come up with paying for our wedding, paying down my car debt, coming up with a down payment for a house, that's just not something I felt like we could make a priority. Okay, so number two, the general guidance with how much you should spend on a ring is about 3 months' salary. If you go on and Google it, that's normally what people will tell you. I, for one, still think that's a little steep. 3 months' salary, I would probably still have to finance that. I mean, I could come up with a lot of it, but like I said, when there are a lot of other priorities we're trying to spend money on right now, I would most likely have to finance to pay 3 months' rent for a ring. 3 months' rent, 3 months' salary for a ring. I also have a hard time sitting down and thinking about, I'm going to spend 3 months going to work to pay for the engagement ring. I know it's a super special thing, don't get me wrong. But like I highlighted earlier, you know, I could buy a nicer one later. I was thinking about this like for a wedding example. You know, a lot of people spend tons of money on a wedding for one night. But in fairness, it's only that one night and you can't go back and redo that, right? At least with a wedding ring, you have the option to upgrade later when you can afford it. So now just for our personal story, we had been dating for probably 3 years, and Melissa was starting to do the, oh, did you see my nail color? You know, I just got my nails painted. So I started to get the hint after time, and you know, she was sending me photos or like photos off Pinterest. I'm sitting here thinking, holy hell, I'm gonna go spend probably $3,000 to $5,000 on a ring that I am getting pictures of. Like, there's no way I would trust myself to make a decision like that without Melissa at least being involved and being able to see them in person. So her and I went and looked at rings together in person, and she was the one who we had sat down and talked about budget like before we even went. So anyway, she was really good about, hey, here are the things we want to see, here are the options, and they did a really great job. We went to Diamonds Direct here in Dallas, listening to our budget, and they were not forcing us. He didn't come back and show us $6,000, $7,000 rings. He came back in that price range. We saw 3 to 4 options, and you know, she gave me the 2 or 3 that she really liked, and I went back and purchased it separately at a later date. And I'm so happy we did that because at first, if I had gone in there with some photos, I don't want to spend that kind of money for her to be like, oh, yeah, it's okay. I mean, I wanted to make absolutely sure she likes it, so I know that's not always the traditional route nowadays, but that's how we approached it. So I went back and purchased the ring. I spent between $3,000 and $5,000. I don't want to say exactly, and I'm not doing this to brag. It's just to give you an idea of where we landed. That was about a month's salary, give or take. So that's where we felt comfortable, didn't have to finance it, paid it down in all cash. Now, just a shameless plug, for the amount of money I paid, I think the ring is beautiful. So gonna plug some photos right here to see what you can get for that kind of money and to spell the myth that you have to spend a ton to get a nice ring. Alright, so if you enjoyed this content, I know it was a little bit of storytelling, but I do like sharing personal stories as well. I don't want it to be boring and just, giving a financial lecture. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. If you could follow us along on Instagram as well, at Finance with Parks. We try to post there quite a bit. So we appreciate you guys watching the video, and remember, finance is fun. See ya.